Hello there internet and welcome. If you've clicked on this video and you don't know what you're watching, well, this is a Minecraft adventure. But not just any old Minecraft adventure, this is a hardcore adventure. Now I know what you may be thinking. I've seen dozens of hardcore videos before, and that may be true, but I can assure you that none of them are quite like this one. And that's because this video challenges the idea of 100 days of hardcore survival by mixing it with a speedrun mentality. Just how much can you do in 100 days of Minecraft? How many times can you defeat the Wither? How many times can you defeat the Ender Dragon? Just how much Netherite can you acquire? All of these questions will be answered by the end of this adventure. But first, let's take a look at you on your first day of hardcore Minecraft. It would appear that you were just punching dirt with your bare hands to gather resources for your shack. While a dirt shack isn't necessarily my first choice, I suppose it works at shielding you from the monsters of the night. It looks like you have a little farm going. Congratulations, you realize that not eating in hardcore Minecraft will eventually lead to your death. But unfortunately, you forgot to check your corners and well, you're dead. Not even one day into your new world and it's already gone forever. Alright, that's enough talking about how terrible you are. Look at me, sitting on top of fat stacks after just 100 days of hardcore Minecraft. Follow my 100-day program and you too can be sitting high on top of a pile of riches. This original concept came to me in a dream and it looks sort of like this. I dreamt there was this YouTuber named Luke TheNotable who had this crazy popular hardcore Minecraft series. It was in fact so popular amongst the 9-year-olds that when he didn't release a Minecraft video, they would riot. And I thought to myself, hey, wouldn't this look great on my channel? Ah, perfection. And this is how I came up with original content. Remember, the challenge is to see how much can be accomplished in 100 days. It's not about surviving in Minecraft, it's about thriving. With just one life, how far can I go? On day 1, I spawned in on a beach. I took one brief glance, but I didn't have time to admire the view. Because just like all good Minecraft playthroughs, this one started with me breaking my hand on a tree. With the wood I got shattering my wrists, I was able to make myself a pickaxe. With that pickaxe and some veteran knowledge, I got myself some cobblestone, which I then used to make myself an entire set of stone tools. Remember kids, wood tools are for peasants. Aw, look at him. He's so cute. It'd be a shame if he died. The only reason I let this one live is because there was a child, and I didn't want it to witness the brutal murder. These cows, however, are fair game. I let this one live because he was having a dance party. And now I'm going to unironically build my base into the side of this hill just like every other hardcore player. I then spent my whole night mining and came across my first bit of iron. I then celebrated surviving the first night by murdering this trespasser on my lands. Taking some of that iron that I found from the night before, I made myself some boots and an iron pickaxe because today I was ready for an adventure. Having just left my base, I saw a sunken ship, and it had this shiny shirt in it. But the real prize was in the treasure chest. I found my first diamond. And the rest of the loot was okay too, I guess. It also had this blank map. Not too exciting, but it will be one day. At night, I headed down into the mines. Oh yeah, did I mention? I won't be sleeping this entire 100 days. By day 3, I was still in the mines collecting some resources when I stumbled across some diamonds. And 6. Late into the night, I heard a dog calling for aid in a battle against a skeleton. We fought pretty well together, but this creeper almost ended it all. Luckily, the dog survived, and I fed him the bones of the skeleton we killed together. He loved it. We became best friends. On day 4, I spent some time decorating my base. While I do live in the side of a mountain, I want it to look at least half decent. I also spent some time building a boat dock that I would use a total of 0 times. And nobody's going to see these posts all the way underwater, but my OCD said I have to put them here anyway. Back in the mine on day 5, and I didn't find any diamonds, but I did find some gold. I gave up on my search for diamonds and got some obsidian instead. I took 2 of my remaining diamonds and made myself an enchanting table. It was about time that I upgraded this pickaxe. I also made myself some enchanted iron armor as well. Tomorrow was going to be a dangerous day. On day 6, I ran outside to greet the sun. I immediately turned around and ran back inside because there was a hole to dig with my name on it. And inside this hole would be my nether portal room. I made sure to decorate the room so that it didn't bring down the property value, even if it is a portal directly to hell. When she said go deeper, I don't think this is what she meant, but it's full of all this white stuff, so maybe it is what she meant. By day 7, I had a new and improved portal room. I think the crimson wood makes it look like the nether's growing out of the portal. I then spent the rest of the day building up an auto sugarcane farm. This auto sugarcane farm is going to be the most important project of the entire 100 days, and you'll understand why as time goes on. The way it works is actually quite simple. The observer detects when the sugarcane grows, which powers the pistons. The pistons then hit the sugarcane into the water where it flows downstream and is collected by a hopper and deposited into a chest. Stonks. During my nightly mining session, I came across a skelly spawner where I found a golden apple and a couple saddles. I was also able to locate a name tag and another spawner with some loot. By day 8, I was tired of looking poor, so I was down here and ready to strip for some diamonds until I got some. I think I may have misinterpreted what they meant by strip mining. I figured it out though, and sure enough I found diamonds. 9 of them to be exact. Heading up from the mines, I saw an Enderman had entered my house uninvited. He even left some sand in the corner. You know what that means? Time to murder. I don't come into your house and leave sand laying all over the place. On day 9, I named my dog, and I'm going to be talking about him a lot because he's the goodest boy and he deserves it. I then spent the rest of the day expanding my presence in the sugarcane industry. Remember what I said, this is the most important project of the entire 100 days, so the greater my automated sugarcane farm is, the greater the stonks. Not sleeping for 9 days really brings your phantoms to life. I started off day 10 by creating better versions of the tools that I already owned, and that's because me and the dog I say words about are going on an adventure. It's been a while since I started a new world and I forgot that I didn't have Silk Touch. I just pissed off some bees. It wasn't until I was on my way home that I spotted a village just over that hill. And I immediately stole their pumpkins, and their bell, and their food, and their people. You're going to be living in this boat until I figure out what to do with you. I headed back to the village and stole some of their beds. No, I won't be using them. Sleep is for the weak. The beds would be used as part of my villager breeder, and that means I'll need to kidnap another villager. Villagers are notoriously difficult to work with, so getting them into a minecart is probably the best idea. I spent the majority of day 12 trying to get the villagers into the villager breeder. Like I said, villagers can be notoriously difficult to work with, and these ones were no different. But it's alright because I eventually got them into their hole where they will spend the rest of their days fricking. Part 2 of this breeder was getting the automatic farm set up. As long as you keep feeding the villagers, they'll continue to make babies. It wasn't completed yet, but I thought it looked pretty nice. My nightly mining session led to me finding 5 more diamonds. I started off day 13 giving my dog a pat on the head. It was going to be a relaxing day today, filled with farming and relaxation in the sun. The dog I tell you guys about was a pretty good boy today, so he deserved a treat. On day 14, I nabbed myself one of these naked mole rats that live in the nether. He likes fungus. I found a nether fortress less than 100 blocks away, and this scaling job was probably the dumbest thing I did in the entire playthrough. Let's just say I only brought 3 pork chops with me, and that was a really dumb idea. I quickly ran out of food and had to abandon the raid. On day 15, I spent some time farming. I had to manually feed these villagers so that they could make me a baby. After I had collected enough food, I headed back into the nether. On my way to the nether fortress, I got distracted and accidentally ended up in a bastion. The loot was meh, and I ran away. By day 16, I had completely forgotten why I even entered the nether. So instead, I spent all day killing Endermen. On day 17, I was still killing Endermen. Sure, I could probably stand underneath a 2 tall block so they couldn't get to me, but hunting them down was a lot more fun. Well, at least it was more fun until I goofed and almost died. I hid in a box to regain my health and to change my pants. On day 18, I decided I had enough fun in the nether and took a peaceful journey over to the nearby plains biomes. I was on the hunt for some seeds. I also stumbled across another village. I stole their hay and left. I used the stolen wheat to tame this horse. It was a pretty decent horse, but I quickly cast it aside when I saw this majestic white stallion. Absolutely beautiful. I started off day 19 by feeding my cows and a baby appeared, unlocking the achievement The Parrots and the Bats. You're going to have to ask your parents about that one. I also spent some time making some aesthetic updates to the villager breeder, which was now producing babies. Hey kid, I've got candy in my minecart. They grow up so fast. Time to get to the fields for some hard labor. The rest of day 20 was spent gathering various resources. Let's see if you can guess what I'm building. If you haven't guessed yet, then you're too slow. With my now unlimited supply of villagers, it was time to build up a villager trading hall. And this is about as far as I could get because I was missing a key resource. Luckily, I knew exactly where I could find some. I was on the hunt for slime, and I remembered seeing a swamp biome on that day I broke the beehive. Day 22 was spent putting the finishing touches on the villager trading hall. This lever-activated piston is probably the most important part. I lied. This zombie is actually the most important part, so I trapped him in here where he will stay forever. On day 23, I spent some time shuttling villagers to my brand new trading hall. An activator rail throws the villager into the trading hall where it then picks a profession and trades away the rest of its life for some emeralds. By the end of the day, I had corralled myself 6 librarians, all working their lives away for a bit of that green. On day 24, I spent some time getting the remaining villagers into the trading hall. I fenced off the trading hall to keep out any unwanted zombies. Once all the villagers were in place, it was time to start manipulating their trades to get the enchantments we wanted. Luckily, on my first try here, I ended up getting Protection 4, which was a great enchantment. Now, in order to prevent this villager's trades from changing, I have to trade with the villager at least once, effectively locking the trade. I also managed to get a mending villager rather quickly, and even though his secondary trade wasn't something I could sell to him, I locked him in anyway. I now had 2 villager trades officially locked in. I spent the rest of the evening watching these villagers frick. I was really hoping they would make me some more babies. And it turns out, if you love someone just enough, you'll vomit carrots all over their face. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is true love. On day 25, I headed back into the nether and made my way to the nether fortress. I was in desperate need of some blaze rods. Having just barely arrived, a couple of wither skeletons tried to jump me. I took care of him though, and one of them gave me his head as a souvenir. I also found some diamond horse armor and grabbed some nether warts, but these wither skeletons just wouldn't leave me alone. But as long as they keep giving me their heads, I really can't complain. And I'm not just stopping at 2 skulls, I managed to get 3 wither skeleton heads. As you can see, I've only gained 3 levels and managed to get 5 blaze rods since I got here, if that's any indication as to how quickly I got these. I got the blaze rods I needed and it was time to head out. I needed those blaze rods for 2 things, Eye of Enders and potion brewing. And I spent much of day 26 brewing assorted potions for my upcoming adventures. I'm also going to need a couple of melons and a handful of pumpkins. Part of my preparations involved making some splash potions of weakness, and you'll see why in a second. Remember that I've locked in some villagers with some decent enchanted books for sale, but he wants 20 emeralds per book and I've only got 16. Well, this is where our pet zombie comes into play. By flicking the lever, we've dropped the villager into the zombificator. And once your villager has been properly zombificated, peg him in the face with a splash potion of weakness and force feed him a golden apple. Don't worry, this whole process is totally kosher, and the villager will actually thank us for it. After a few minutes, the villager should be back to normal, and he'll show you his gratitude for curing him by selling you his wares at a deeply discounted price. As you can see, these mending books went from 20 emeralds to 1 emerald. I also never have to worry about crafting books, because I can just buy these bookshelves and then break them for 3 books. And just like that, 7 emeralds, 7 books. I've been feeling pretty naked without any real armor, so on day 27 I decided to make myself a full set of diamond gear. Oh yeah, cover me in diamonds. And of course I had to stick mending on everything. I look pretty sexy in blue. On day 28, me and the dog I have things to say about went on an adventure. I needed to gather some snow, and I think I've got enough. I also did some trading with my villagers late into the night, trying to get some last minute enchantments. By day 29, I had put together 2 different kits, one for the Ender Dragon fight and one for the Wither fight. Let me know in the comments which one you want to see happen first. Just kidding, you don't get an opinion. You're gonna have to excuse me for a second, I just need to carve pumpkins for 4 suburban families. I think it's about time that I gave my horse a much needed upgrade. Beautiful. I'm also going to give you a name. Now LTN can carry me just like he carries my channel. Turns out that I'll be doing the hard work to start off the journey. On the upside, I found one of these portal ruins and it had a bunch of golden food in it. It was just about nightfall when we finally made it to the end fortress and I only lost 1 Eye of Ender along the way. I am always mega sus of the lava that's underneath the end portal because all it takes is 1 bug and then I fall in the lava and die. And you may be wondering why I brought this bed. No, it's not to sleep in. It was so that I could set a new spawn point, so after I defeat the Ender Dragon, it will teleport me directly to this bed. I stood here and waited until it was day 30 before jumping feet first into the end portal. Wearing a pumpkin on my head, I spawned a bunch of snow golem and iron golem minions. They'll take care of the enderman, while I take care of the ender dragon. From here, as long as you've got a bow and arrow and some slowfall potions, the ender dragon fight is pretty easy. Take out all of the crystals and you're good to go. Once all of the crystals are destroyed, I can start chipping away at the ender dragon's health. When the ender dragon comes down to land is when I can do the most damage. All I have to do is run around behind him and start smacking him in the butt. And because I'm such a pro gamer, I killed the ender dragon with a 360 no-scope. It was a little bit sloppy, but we're not going to talk about that. Only 30 days into this world and we've already defeated the Ender Dragon. Sure, that's not a speedrun record, but I had other things to do, like teach my villagers to make babies. According to the Minecraft debug menu, it's actually day 29, but that's because you spawn in on day 0. Remember that bed I placed? Well, here's why. I spawned right outside the end portal, and I'm going to be jumping back in. The reason being is that after I defeated the Ender Dragon, it spawned one of these end gateways, and I'm going to be heading into it. Traveling through the end forest, I found what I was looking for, which was an end city with a boat, and on day 31, I raided my first city. Always make sure to take out the shulkers before trying to bridge over to the ship. The last thing you want to do is start levitating while you're over the void. And just like that, I've acquired my first set of wings. Easy peasy. And I didn't forget to take the free dragon head that came with the ship. I wore the dragon head to take my first flight, and in fact, I won't be removing this dragon head for the rest of these 100 days. After I got my first elytra, finding another end city was relatively easy. While making my way back to the gateway, I found the most adorable tiny little end city. I'll probably never use 3 elytras because I'll never die, and while I had a load of fun exploring the end, it was time to head out. I made it back to my base just as the sun was rising on day 32. I spent all of day 32 doing what anybody would have done in my position if they had 60 levels, and that was enchant all of my gear. I also got a fair bit of loot when raiding the end cities. I used up all 60 of my levels trying to get as many enchantments as I could, and I'd say my gear is looking pretty alright. On day 33, I took off flying towards the end portal. There were 2 things that I forgot, and the first one was the dragon egg, which you can easily get with a piston and a redstone torch. And the second was my favorite companion, LTN. When I got back to base, I started trading with my villagers, which is honestly the easiest way to get levels. I also built a small emerald throne for LTN, because he's a king, and he deserves it. And now that the Ender Dragon's out of the way, it's time to kill the Wither. The best place to defeat the Wither is down at Bedrock, where it can do the least amount of destruction and can't escape. I actually feel bad for you Bedrock players out there because this Wither fight took me all of 30 seconds. You know, I regularly think about what the music must sound like to the Wither when the boss battle starts. With the Nether Star I got from the Wither, I made my first beacon and promptly put it in front of LTN. I was trying to see if he was proud of me. I really can't tell. He hasn't said anything. I spent all of day 35 trading with my villagers. I can get anywhere between 32 and 56 emeralds per villager per day. Multiply that by 10 villagers and I'm getting around 40 blocks of emeralds a day. I hope LTN doesn't mind that I need to borrow these. I promise to make him something better in the future. This has got to be the most patchwork together beacon I have ever seen. I even used a block of diamonds. Still trading with my villagers on day 36, I was determined to get that beacon completed. And after a little bit of villager grinding, I managed to get enough. On day 37, I dove face first into this shiny white light to place the finishing touches on my beacon. And finally get that haste 2 effect. If you've never experienced insta-mining, I'd highly recommend it, because in just a few minutes I cleared out this entire area. I got a few shulker boxes full of resources that I would need, and can you guess how many diamonds I got during this session? None. That block of diamonds is actually from the beacon. On day 38 I realized that I didn't have nearly enough quartz for my next project, so I hopped into the nether and began mining away at all of the local nether resources. During my hunt for quartz, I ran into a ghast that wanted to play some baseball, and let's just say that I hit a home run. I managed to get just over 5.5 stacks of quartz blocks, which should be enough for my next project. On day 39, I laid out the location where I would be building my next project. And no, you're not allowed to see what it is. It's going to be a surprise. I'm just going to put this block here and a couple of these blocks there, maybe put some green stuff over here. Man, I really wish you guys could see what I was building. You're really missing out. And now for the moment you've all desperately been waiting for, the face reveal. Touching down at the new temple, you can see LTN is sitting high on top of his emerald throne. And that's because he's a god, and I will worship him as such. I prayed to LTN for some advice, but it turns out he's requesting donations. I don't know why he needs the money. I figured he'd be alright after 1,000 days. But I guess if that's what it takes to get some advice from the most notable Minecrafter, then so be it. And it turns out that I now have to build a creeper farm, and I shall do as he commands. I apologize in advance if the rest of this 100 days gets a little weird, but it's not my fault. On day 40, I found a wandering trader selling some dye, and that gave me an idea. I'd say that looks way better. And now onto the creeper farm. First, we're going to need a sticky piston like so. Then we'll need to put down a few redstone repeaters and make sure they're all set to 4 ticks. A bit of redstone to connect it, and I don't think I did this right. Something definitely went wrong. I figured out what it was. I was on the wrong website, but now I for sure know what I'm doing. I worked through the night building this creeper farm, so it better be worth it. I was still out here building cobblestone platforms by the morning of day 41. By placing trapdoors on the ceiling of each level, it will prevent zombies and skeletons from spawning. The magma blocks will kill the creepers, and the rail cart will collect the drops. I ran out of wood for trapdoors, so I spent some time promoting global warming. And by the end of day 42, I had a fully functioning auto creeper farm. This farm design also spawns a handful of spiders, but I'm honestly not worried about it. As you can see, we've already managed to collect quite a few drops. Day 43 was a big day. I had just finished my first task and was off to see if LTN had any more quests for me. Once I made it to the top of the mountain, I donated another diamond to the Emerald Temple. And I was demanded a sacrifice. I'm already giving money, what more does he want? But I did as I was asked, and I hung 2 llamas outside of the temple as sacrifice. Don't ask where the other guy went. I'd rather not self-incriminate. I paid yet another diamond and all I got was a demand for more beacons, and an ominous threat. And so I mined clay for the rest of the day. You know, I'd say I probably had enough clay, and it will all be used in my upcoming wither farm. At night, I did a little bit of expansion on the base. I built myself a small little enchanting room. I don't know what I'll use it for, but I thought it looked nice. I needed the clay for clay pots. I swear it'll make sense. And so on day 44, I jumped into the nether and flew over to the nearby fortress, which I would begin disassembling. The bridge section of the fortress over the lava is the perfect place to build this farm. Hey look, it's the flower pots. I told you they'd have a use. On day 45, I began placing walls which would make up the boundary of the farm, and I capped them with slabs which would end up being the roof. On either side of the flower pots, I placed some top half slabs layered with some stairs. This would end up being the safe spot of the farm. As you can see, I'm already spawning withers, and this is sort of how it works. They can see me, but they can't get me. On day 46, I was finishing up the floor of the other half of the farm. And there we have it, this side done. Now it's time to start placing down the roof. At this point, I'm nearly done with the farm. I just have to finish the other roof. On day 47, I began filling in the other side. At least I think it's day 47. All the days seem to blend together down here. Whatever day it is, I'm done. Let's ignore the fact that the roof is made of different colors. Here's a brief rundown on how this farm works. Basically, I walk down the middle and all the skeletons see me and chase after me. And once I reach the end, they all crowd into the kill chamber, and the only thing left to do is to slice them. And that's all there is to it. Now I own 2 wither skeleton heads. I was still out here on day 48, chewing gum and taking heads. Now fortunately, I still had a few pieces left, because this might take a while. The way they just follow me to their death is honestly my favorite part. By the end of day 48, I had collected a total of 9 heads, but more importantly, look at those levels. Nice. On day 49, I spent some time organizing the drops chest. I honestly have no idea why. I guess I just wanted to be organized as I severed the head from the rest of the skeleton. I should have named this sword the guillotine, because I just got my 15th head. I made it out of the nether with my skulls and headed up to the temple. I wanted to show off what I had accomplished, and so I placed the skulls everywhere. Honestly, it looks pretty ominous. I like it. On day 50, I had filled up my inventory with everything that I would need, which mostly consisted of buckets of white stuff. It's a lot to carry around. They should make a bank for white stuff. Not sure why I placed all of these everywhere. I'm gonna need them back. I honestly didn't expect to have a fully functioning wither farm by day 50. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all these beacons. I've got to kill this thing 5 times, so let's just get it over with. And just like that, it's over with. I took my brand new beacons up to the temple and placed them around. These 5 beacons plus the one on top is 6 beacons in only 50 days. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I have them. The main section of my base was becoming a bit disorganized and a little crowded, so on day 51 I carved out a new section of the base that would become my storage room. The first thing that got added to the storage room was a handful of auto smelters. I've only got 100 days. I don't have time to load furnaces manually. I then spent some time shuttling all of my resources back and forth between the 2 rooms. I also had to defend my property from some unwanted house guests. And here it is. I'd say it came out pretty aesthetic. I'm really liking this cave design that I decided to go with. And now I have this big empty space that I could definitely put something in, but I won't for another 40 days. The dog I talk about was a good boy during the entire renovation process. He also likes rotten flesh. I have no idea why. By day 52, I was really liking the way my base was turning out. I also added 4 more beacons to the temple, just for a little extra flex. I also stopped in to check on my creeper farm, and by the looks on their faces, I'd say they're enjoying the hot tub. Having a good supply of gunpowder and sugarcane is a great way to get you far in Minecraft. And I mean that quite literally. They make rockets. I also made myself a second bow. My first one was getting a bit low on durability. While I was off on my adventure, I came across a sunken ship, and lucky for me, there was a treasure map in it. Flying around at night, I found another sunken ship, and this one also had a treasure map. Although I was totally gypped, because these are the same treasure map. The island where the treasure was covered in mobs the night before, so I waited until day 53 to touch down. Do you see that little fuzzy thing on the map? Well, that's an ocean monument, and I'm definitely coming back for that. The map's telling me to dig right here. And the map lied. Apparently, it was 10 miles underwater. I celebrated my find with some suspicious stew and flew off into the night. As the sun rose on day 54, I spotted a lava pool, which reminded me. I had forgotten to bring my obsidian, and I was going to be building a portal at my destination. I also found a snowy village. These are by far my favorite villager type. Look, they even have giant snowmen. And of course they have obsidian. They also feed their livestock snow. I'm not sure how nutritious that is. Back on the adventure, I came across one of these biomes, and I'm not even gonna say what it looks like. All that flying around finally paid off, because I finally found what I was looking for. One of my goals for these 100 days was to become hero of the village, and to do that, I needed to get the bad omen effect. The nether is awesome. I only had to travel a couple hundred blocks to get back. So here I am on day 55, prepared as I'll ever be, because as soon as I walk through this portal, the raid's going to start. The first thing I did was run outside and hang their banners on my house. I wanted them to know that I had already murdered many of their kin. One of the villagers from the first wave got stuck in the boat with my sheep, Shep. I made sure to use my bow so that I didn't kill Shep. And even with a perfectly aligned shot, I still killed him. Part of me wants to leave him here for what he's done, but the village needs me, and it's what Shep would have wanted. I took out my anger by standing on top my villager breeder and shooting the pillagers with arrows. This honestly doesn't look very comfortable, but I'm happy it's still getting some use. The evokers were the only thing of any threat, and when there were too many of them, I had to resort to flybys. But one by one, I took them out until I became hero of the village. And now it's time to check out those sweet deals. Only 1 emerald? I already get that. Starting off day 56, I fed my dog some steak for breakfast. Inside of this shulker box is where I've been keeping all of my trinkets and treasures, but it's about time that I make a room for these. And here you have it, the brand new treasure and map room. It's not done, but it looks nice. I've been breeding up these cows, but it's about time we culled the herd. And I'm gonna feel horrible about it, I swear. Just look away. I'm going to forget my sins by making a super cool map. Something that always gets me is how expensive maps are to make. I only need 40 maps, but that means I need 160 iron for the compasses. On the morning of day 57, I made the first map of my base. Let's pretend that I didn't find that map on day 2 because at this point I had completely forgotten about it. Filling out maps is extremely easy with an elytra. The hardest part is actually just keeping them in order. But if you're able to keep them in order, then it goes together quite smooth. And now for the final reveal. Is it even a real Minecraft world if you don't have a map wall? Or your dragon egg on display, along with a couple of dragon heads? I'm still wearing the third one. I've also got a small tribute to Shep. He was like a father to me. And my first bow. And a bulletin board filled with all the quests I've completed. On day 58, I was going to build something. Can you guess what it is? You should know this time. That's right, it's another villager trading hall. And this time, I didn't forget the slime. I spent most of the day mirroring the villager trading hall that I had already built, but this time with an assortment of professions. So, that slime thing was a lie. I totally didn't have enough. But when I got back, there was a golden zombie just waiting for me. And just like my other trading hall, I trapped him in here. I should really give these guys names. On day 59, I broke into the villager breeder and began shuttling villagers over to my new trading hall. It's a bit crowded in here. I'm sure I'm violating at least one health code. I love how clean the system is at delivering villagers to the trading hall. I also love the fact that the villagers march their happy little noses to their workstations all on their own. I also replaced my farming villagers that I lost in the raid. And now comes the fun part of trying to get a Silk Touch villager. It took me about 8 tries and I almost broke the lectern because I was in a rhythm. On day 60, I made my way to the local market. I wanted to show off the new granite path. This marketplace is definitely for the upper class. Hold on, just gonna immortalize that update on this map. And now that we have the trading hall, let's get those discounts. All I gotta do is run by and flick all of these levers. Remember, the villagers don't actually mind. They thank us for it. Remember, the secret is to splash acid in their eyes and then force feed them some apples. And now we wait. Did I waste roughly 5 minutes of my daylight? Yes, but I thought it would be a cool time lapse. And now you can see that I have discounted trades, and the trades will only get better as the villagers gossip. On day 61, I spent some more time at the trading halls. I still had 7 extra apples, and the villagers that I thought needed some more convincing, well, you know what happens. I then spent most of the day trading with my villagers. With an almost endless supply of paper and books, this trading hall was extremely profitable. I already had Fortune 3 tools, and now with my brand new Silk Touch villager, I was able to finally make a Silk Touch pickaxe. And so on day 62, I set up my beacon, slapped on haste 2, and got to mining. I wasn't after any resource in particular. I was mining everything. Redstone, coal, diamond ore, iron ore, you name it. If I saw it, I grabbed it, including all of the varieties of stone. The purpose of this mining trip was just to get as many resources as possible, and I wouldn't be satisfied until both of my pickaxes were nearly broken. And that's how I spent all of day 63. These shulker boxes are filled with what I had acquired by day 64. I also spent some time during these days working on a small side project, and I'll show you guys what that is in a little bit. But until then, day 65 was spent burning through all this stone, and I had finally burned through my pickaxes as well. And here's a quick peek at the resources I managed to get. But for now, it's time to pack up the beacon and head out. On day 66, I pillared up as high as I could with the resources I had mined. I had mined several stacks of coal and redstone, and almost a full stack of the blue stuff and the shiny blue stuff. And now it's time for me and my Fortune 3 pickaxe to get to work. And now for the diamond ore. Let's see how lucky I can get. And now for the result. I got over a shulker box worth of redstone, a bunch of coal and lapis, and I turned 53 diamond ore into 113 diamonds. With Fortune 3, that's about what I expected. On day 67, I spent some time expanding the sugarcane farm. With all the new villagers, it just wasn't able to keep up with paper demands. More sugarcane means more profits, and I was going to milk my emerald slaves for all they're worth. Oh, did I say slaves? I mean my hard-working villagers. On day 68, I was off to gather some sand. So I set up my beacon in this desert and then spent all day mining for bacon. Look guys, I'm also confused, but in my spreadsheet I used to keep track of all my days, I said I went bacon mining. And so I bacon mined late into the night. We're also not going to talk about how I don't need a beacon to insta-shovel sand. We're just gonna call it a flex. There was absolutely nothing special about today, so I just went down to the market and traded with my villagers. I spent pretty much all day long trading with my villagers and farming up my emerald count. Somehow 2 of the maps on my wall had broken, and when I replaced them I remembered, today is a religious holiday. Nice. And so I headed to the temple to pay my respects on this holy day. And upon donating to the gods, I got the demand that I defeat the Ender Dragon. Again. I started off day 70 in the marketplace, buying myself some golden carrots. Also good news about these clerics is they sell ender pearls, and I was going to need some to make some end crystals. The reason being is that I need to place 4 end crystals adjacent to the ender pearl like so in order to summon the ender dragon. Wearing my elytra and my dragon head, I got into a flying battle with the ender dragon, and I asserted my dominance as the alpha dragon. You know, I wish after defeating the ender dragon it would drop just as much XP as after the first battle, but it's whatever. And I also somehow pissed off an enderman who punched me into the end portal. Back in the end portal room, I used my big brain and constructed another portal which would allow me to get back to my base a lot quicker. Conveniently, it's linked directly to my nether portal. When I walked outside on day 71, I was confronted with a lot of snow in my yard. I followed the snow trail and it led me to a snow golem. At first, I was super confused as to how a snow golem would have spawned, so I dragged him back to my base and leashed him up so he would stop getting his snow everywhere. I then spent some time shoveling the snow and pondering just how this could have happened. And once I had thought I figured it out, I headed back home only to find the only mob that had ever spawned in my base having a snowball fight with the golem. But even after I had taken care of the creeper, the snow golem decided he still liked to throw snowballs at the wall. My current theory is that the snow golem entered the end portal, and since I live at spawn, it just teleported here. As for the rest of its behavior, I have no idea. If you haven't noticed, by day 72, I like to get up bright and early, because there's only 10 minutes of daylight. I say get up, but I don't sleep. I have too many tasks to do for the Emerald God. And raiding a woodland mansion is just another task. And this is why I have cartographers. They sell woodland mansion and ocean monument maps. As always, I did some trading with my villagers as well. I'm becoming dummy rich, as indicated by the 2 maxed out beacon effects. And not to mention the full extra beacon I have in this shulker box. And now with my inventory set, it was time to hunt down this woodland mansion. All I did was fly up a few thousand blocks and then coast the right direction. Could I have gone through the nether and made this faster? Probably, but I wanted to get that cool time lapse. These woodland mansions can be tens of thousands of blocks away, so I could be up here for some time. But it was during the middle of day 73 that the durability on my elytra was getting pretty low, and I forgot to bring a spare, so I was heading down to the ground. I put mending on my elytra for a reason, so I went around murdering all of the local wildlife to repair it. And that was enough to get me back in the air. I was still out here cruising on time-lapse mode on the start of day 74, but right around midday I saw my icon poking through on the map. And after nearly 40 minutes of flight, I arrived at the woodland mansion. I'm definitely going through the nether on the way back. I spent my time slowly peeking around corners and shooting pillagers when I saw them. Punch 2 on a bow definitely came in handy. I had just made it downstairs and was lighting up the mansion when I rounded the corner and was greeted with a roaring fire. I just kind of stared at it in disbelief. While doing some exploring of the burned down mansion, I saw it. There was a lava pocket that spawned directly next to the mansion, and I imagine that's what burned it down. On day 75, most of the fire had stopped. I can't believe I flew 40 minutes for this. The only good thing from this trip was the singular diamond block inside of this lava. I was flying home through the nether when I was distracted by a bastion. These piglin brutes are actually terrifying and do a ton of damage, so I was going to stay as far away as possible. But that wasn't going to stop me from looting these chests, where I found a piece of netherite scrap and a diamond pickaxe among some other stuff. On day 76, I decided it was probably best if I just mined my way home. I figured that I could find some ancient debris along the way, and I totally did. But I didn't just find the one piece of ancient debris. I ended up finding a total of 7 pieces on my way back, and also the nether is an extremely dangerous place to mine, especially without fire resistance potions. Finally making it back to my portal, I unlocked that subspace bubble advancement, which basically means that I traveled way too far in the overworld. I was also greeted with a zombie pigman charging the snow golem, and before I could do anything, he was killed. I'm gonna miss Snow Golem. He was like a father to me. But I avenged his death. I collected his balls and stuck them in my box. On day 77, using my brand new scraps of netherite and some gold, I crafted myself up 2 netherite ingots. I used the 2 pieces of netherite to upgrade my pickaxe and my sword, so now when I murder someone, they'll know I'm richer than them. I then spent the rest of the day in the market, showing off my wealth to the businessmen. Not only do I have more emeralds, but I also have more netherite, and I know that makes them jealous. I used my obscene amount of wealth to build up another tier 4 beacon underneath the temple. I originally chose speed 2, but it makes the FOV all wonky, so I changed it to jump boost instead. Day 78 was spent on the aesthetics. I figured it was about time to start upgrading some of the looks around this place. Building and making the landscape look nice are some of my favorite things to do in Minecraft, but it's kind of hard to get those things done when you're limited on time. But texturizing the ground and throwing down some bone meal is a great way to make an organic path. And even though this is a pretty cramped area, I feel like this really brought it together. I also texturized the path leading up to the temple, and I'm really digging this look. But that's enough horsing around with building. It's time to get our next quest, and that was to conquer an ocean monument. And in order to prepare for this quest, I spent all night fishing. I told you I spent all night, and by day 79 I had gotten 2 pufferfish. As you can see, I needed the pufferfish to make water-breathing potions. I also had to spend 34 levels to upgrade my boots, but just look at them. They're absolutely godlike. And another 19 for my leggings. I traded with my villagers for the 20 extra levels I needed for my sword. It's still missing knockback, but maybe one day. I then just spent the rest of the day trading with my villagers. And so on day 80, I flew myself over to the ocean monument that I had found on day 53. You can make ocean monument raids extremely easy by bringing a cow, but I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I just brought an ender chest full of milk. There's a total of 3 elder guardians per ocean monument. The first one is right in the center where I've dug into. The other 2 remaining guardians are in each of the 2 wings. It was actually day 81 by the time I had gotten to the 3rd guardian, and I had also run out of milk. If I'm being honest, ocean monuments are actually extremely easy as long as you come prepared. I nabbed the 8 blocks of free gold, but unfortunately there was no sponge room in this ocean monument, so instead I just resorted to tearing down half the monument. Alright, it wasn't half the monument, but I did take some blocks with me. I started off day 82 by building a prismarine pedestal, and this is where I'd put my conduit. If I had one. Dinkelberg! If you didn't get that joke, it's because I'm more of a boomer than these creepers. This gunpowder farm has been functional for nearly 40 days, and I've acquired over 2 double chests worth of gunpowder. Taking all that bacon I mined, I crafted up as much TNT as I could, which was nearly a full shulker box. I also colored it red and named it TNT so I wouldn't lose it. I started off day 83 in the marketplace, buying up some supplies for my upcoming trip. Also, let's take a moment to admire how rich I am. Alright, that's sufficiently admired. Now it's probably pretty obvious that the reason I have a full shulker box full of TNT and a bunch of fire resistance potions is that I was heading into the Nether to do some TNT mining for ancient debris. The reason you use TNT, if you don't know already, is that ancient debris is actually explosion proof so it doesn't blow up while the surrounding blocks do. So basically how I did this was I mined extremely far in a straight line and I flew all the way back to the beginning and then placed the TNT. And this is exactly why I have fire resistance potions. On day 85, I emptied the shulker box of the remaining TNT. I basically wanted to create one long explosion chain if possible, so I was going to keep placing TNT until I ran out. And on day 86, I officially ran out of TNT. Before I get started with the explosions, I actually found 15 pieces of ancient debris while just tunneling, which honestly isn't that much, but let's see how much I get with the TNT. Well, that chain reaction was a dud, but hey look, some ancient debris. Ah yes, that's much more like it. Now please enjoy a rapid succession of me mining ancient debris just so you know it's legit. Deep into day 87, I was still traveling down the exploded Nether highway, collecting ancient debris along the way. Once I was able to get a good chain reaction of TNT going, I was able to find ancient debris pretty quick. This method of locating ancient debris really doesn't take that long, but it does cost an immense amount of TNT. I was still in hell on day 88 collecting those fiery cinnamon rolls. I also remembered that I could light the TNT with my flame bow. I don't even know why I brought flint and steel. On day 89, I was actually jump scared by a piece of flying TNT so badly that I timed out of my game temporarily to catch my breath. But finally, here it is, the last piece of TNT. I spent an entire week in hell, but I walked away with 182 of these delicious cinnamon rolls. In real lifetime, that's about 2.5 hours. If you've ever watched Cubfan's video on the different methods of ancient debris mining, you'll see that he averages about 1.2 ancient debris per minute, which is almost exactly what I got, so I'm honestly not shocked. On day 90, I converted all of my netherite scrap into 45 netherite ingots, which is more netherite than I've ever owned. And I used it to convert all of my diamond gear into netherite. I also made 2 full sets of netherite armor using the armor I got from the end. And I wasn't even going to wear it, it was just for decorating the temple. And even after all of that, I still had over 3 blocks of netherite left, so I just stuck it on the front of my house as a flex. When you cure enough villagers, their trades become extremely broken. You can trade with the villager 2 times per day, sometimes 3 if I don't trade with them the day before, which means I can get almost 80 blocks of emeralds in a single day from my villagers. On day 91, I began building a monument dedicated to myself. Luckily, I've got stonemasons, which basically means I have unlimited quartz. I worked late into the night putting on the finishing touches, so that by day 92 I was ready for the big reveal. And here's the statue I made of myself. Honestly, I think it looks just like me, but you guys can let me know down in the comments. I really enjoyed the prismarine look and glad I found a use for it. I'll admit the back of the statue looks pretty bare, but I tried to make an elytra and it just doesn't look right at this scale. So I made a cape instead, and actually it looks pretty good. I've done almost nothing to the front of my house in the 90 days since I built it, so I think it's time to give it a facelift. And with just a few minor changes, this thing looks phenomenally better. So by day 93, not only did I upgrade the front of my base, but it was also time to build up the interior that I talked about all those days ago. A campfire can really bring a kitchen to life and make it feel like it's alive. And making things feel lived in is one of the harder things to do in Minecraft. But building things so they feel realistic, like putting this piece of meat on a chopping board, is a really easy way to make it feel unique and like someone's actually using this kitchen. Sticking a villager in there is another great way. Using this carpet stacking technique is a great way to make it feel open but still keep the villager from wandering away. I figured if he was going to be living with me, I should give him a name, so I named him Harold. On day 94, I found a wandering trader that was selling Nautilus shells, so I bought his entire stock, which was only 5, so I buried him in a hole and named him so he wouldn't despawn. I then had a very peaceful time eating cake with all of my friends and the dog I care so much about. We sat around and traded stories of the times we were adventuring. Guys, I have a confession. These are just armor stands and I don't have any friends. But here's a quick tutorial on how I did this so that you can also pretend that you have friends. And basically all it requires is a piston and a redstone power source. All you have to do is set the armor stand on top of a stair and then power the piston. When the armor stand gets pushed up into a solid block, it will actually just phase through the stairs and make it look like your armor stands are actually sitting down. I also added a barrel full of meat as a refreshment for my guests. Oh yeah, I also deforested a bunch of land, contributing to global warming. Let's just take a peek on this map and see how bad it was. Hey, it's starting to look like the Amazon rainforests. By day 95, I had put together several shulker boxes full of assorted resources that were going to be used in the final project of these 100 days. So basically my plan was to create an epic ride that would celebrate these 100 days, which is why I had to clear all of this land. And the ride was just going to be a giant roller coaster with a lot of cool visual effects. I'm going to be spending the rest of my time until 100 days building up this ride, and I don't want to spoil too much of the effects, so I won't be showing too much of the buildup. Just know that by day 96, I was making plenty of progress. This build was going to involve quite a bit of redstone and some other neat things like lava. I also had the idea to break the ride into sections so that I could use a variety of different build palettes and keep it unique. And on day 97, I was going to teach you a bit of redstone. This is how you make a basic pulse extender. All you have to do is place comparators facing opposite directions and connect them up with some redstone dust. When you send it a redstone pulse, you can see that the pulse lingers around for a bit. On day 98, you may be wondering why I'm building up in the air, and let me tell you, that's none of your business. And I continued to build none of your business for the rest of the day. Guys, it's day 99, we're almost there, and I finished up the roller coaster by placing the remaining rails. Here's a little sneak preview of what the roller coaster looks like on the map. It's super colorful, and I'm excited to show you. The very last thing I had to do before day 100 was craft up a bunch of fire charges. They're pretty important, and I'm not going to tell you why. I watched the sunrise on day 100. I then spent some time revisiting all of the rooms in my base. I kinda just want to showcase everything that I've done up to this point. While I didn't really have the time to make a full-size base, I really liked the way this one came out. It was actually a lot of fun to decorate these caves and make them into rooms. And while it's not a mega build, it's a nice little place to call home. And while you've seen the villager trading hall at least a dozen times, I really couldn't have accomplished what I did without it. Or more importantly, the sugarcane farm, which acted as my main source of trade. Or the villager breeder that gave me copious amounts of fresh babies. This breeder has seen many tweaks over the 100 days. On a side note, it turns out wandering traders don't replenish their trade, so this guy has no more use. This villager breeder has been pretty much producing babies non-stop for 80 days. From the looks of it, there was at least 40 villagers shoved into that hole. I think it's about time I let them all go. They've earned their freedom. This statue's probably my favorite thing that I built in this entire world. Also, meet Boat Fox. He's been sitting here for about half the video, and I've never introduced you. And here's the 69 that I never actually showed you in person. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, my fat pile of wealth. You can say that I'm dummy rich. I've probably got more emeralds than I'll ever need, and I don't even have enough beacons to fill all the pyramids. And finally, the Temple of LTN that has guided me through these 100 days. This time around, I brought a Netherite ingot as a donation. What I would like to know most is if you're proud of what I've accomplished in these 100 days. I'm a failure and I don't deserve to live in this world anymore. Take care of that house, bud, while I'm gone. I'm sure you'll do me proud. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's ride the ride. I put a lot of time into this ride and I hope you enjoy it. There's 2 versions, the super happy fun time mode and the death mode. And well, I was going to kill myself anyway, so this just makes it easy. Enjoy the wildness of this ride. I won't be doing much commentating until the end. And this is about the time that I realized that I didn't want to die. Why kill myself when I can just kill God? I installed a better god, the goodest boy. My dog will never betray me or disapprove of me, except those times when I accidentally step on his tail, and I'm super sorry, and I try to tell him that, but he just doesn't understand English. He just gets this really sad look in his eyes like I hate him. I promise I love you. The goodest boy also recommends that you subscribe. And I 100% agree, you can always unsubscribe later. This video took an immense amount of time to make. You'd think with 100 days, I'd have plenty of time to do things. I probably spent just as much time out of game planning what I was going to do as in game so that I didn't run out of time. But I'd say it all paid off in the end. Wait a minute, do you hear that? I hear another portal. It's like right in here somewhere. I found where it was coming from and it was in the mouth. I 100% didn't put this here. Whoa, hold on. This looks almost exactly like the temple I made in the overworld. Except different. I'm so confused. This is like a black and gold version of my temple. And it's even got a horse in it. Oh no. I hope he's not mad about what just happened. Here's some money. Please, take it. Oh god, there's a message. Build me a netherite throne. You've got to be kidding me. Oh, there's a part 2? Or I'll delete your entire world. Oh, rip. I'm just going to bow and walk away slowly and hope that I don't get murdered. This has been such a weird experience.